The robbers took off their masks in front of the hostages, because all the hostages are wearing red-eye masks. They just got 30 billion won. The robbers were about to leave, but then someone was so desperate that he pressed the alarm. Park secretly took off the eye mask and took a look. Oh, man, the alarm was pressed by the robbers themselves. Mr. Fat took off his blindfold directly, so that he can look at him with confidence. Old Park closed his eyes tightly and begged for mercy. After all, the rule is that if you look at a robber's face, it dead. But the robbers did the opposite. They took off the blindfolds of all the hostages, but they didn't mean to do anything at all, because their boss, the professor, told them there must not be any casualties in this operation. When the police arrived at the scene, the robbers shot symbolically into the air, then threw a smoke bomb. They were surrounded by the police. There's no way to escape. In fact, that's their real goal. South Korea immediately sent Sister Kim, the god of negotiation, to negotiate with the professor. The first question she asked was, how many helicopters the robbers wanted. As expected of a god of negotiation, this question seems to help the robbers escape. In fact, it's an attempt to influence the number of hijackers, because a helicopter can only seat 4 people. The professor replied that he only needed 1. The commanding officer next to him was overjoyed. There are less than 4 robbers, then it's just a matter of breaking through. Sister Kim is strongly against it. It's possible that the robbers are playing a trick on us, but the commander has already given the order. The Korean flying bulls have arrived at the gate. They've pushed their probes deep into the gate. What they see inside is a sight to behold. The number of robbers here is estimated to be more than 30. While the commander is hesitating, a message came in from his men. The robbers have uploaded the video of the kidnapping onto the internet. They opened it and realized all the hostages were forced to wear robbers' uniforms and fake weapons. This way, the police couldn't tell which one was the real robber. What's worse, one of the hostages is the daughter of the American ambassador. The commander was so scared that he arranged for an immediate retreat. In fact, the real goal of these robbers is not the $30 billion they have seized. They were planning to use the money printing plant they were holding hostage, and the staff of the printing plant, to create brand new and traceable banknotes. The target is 4 trillion won. This robber unzipped his shirt at the hostage, then he took out some pineapple buns. He was afraid that the pregnant woman would be hungry, but Ray was actually pretending to be pregnant. She didn't come to the office for food. She came to look for the only communication device in the banknote printing factory, a phone watch. She was about to contact the police, but the robber suddenly grabbed her hand. Ray was shocked. So this guy was interested in her. He didn't notice the watch in his hand. Ray politely refused and gave the watch to the dean of the school. Mr. Park, now as long as we find a chance to contact the police, we have a chance to escape. But the robbers did not even let the door close. When they went to the toilet, Old Park could not find a chance at all. Everyone stayed up all night. Negotiator Kim went back to his friend's store to get something to eat, but she never imagined that the man she was flirting with was actually the kidnapping mastermind, the professor. At this moment, Ms. Kim received a call from the police. The professor knew that her work needed to be kept secret, so he consciously left. The police said that the hostage's phone watch has been turned on. If she receives the police's eavesdropping software, she'll be able to get a picture and sound of the hostage's phone watch. Ms. Kim was very excited, but the professor, who was hiding behind the door, heard everything. But she turned around and realized that the professor was eavesdropping. She immediately took out her handcuffs and asked him why he was doing this. She didn't expect the professor to say that he was afraid that she had another man. That's why he kept refusing his advances. That's why he had the idea of eavesdropping on the phone. Sister Jin was deceived by his acting skills. She said she had just gotten divorced and was not in a good position to fall in love. After saying that, she hurried back to the scene. As soon as the professor turned his head, he told his men about the phone watch. All the hostages were arranged to the hall. They will be searched and checked one by one. They were about to be discovered. Park took this last chance to hide behind Ray and installed the eavesdropping software. But as the director, he was suddenly named. It turns out that the robbers wanted him to do a checkup. He handed over his phone watch to Ray. Ray hurriedly tucked it into her clothes. But I did not expect the phone watch dropped. The robber picked up the watch and smashed it like crazy. Fat was very angry and the consequences were serious. He decided to make an example of him, so he ordered Denver to drag the woman into the bathroom and execute her. Then, there was a gunshot from the bathroom. This inmate borrowed a lighter from the warden, he lit a cigarette right in front of him, then he arranged for his men to kill him on the spot. He's the biggest escapee of the century, Mr. Fat. He led a group of inmates to turn the prison upside down, and escaped. 3 years later, he became the partner of a high-intelligence robber professor. They took over the money printing factory, and prepared to print money directly. But his explosive personality is the complete opposite of the calm and collected professor. Angered by the struggling hostages, he disregarded the professor's instruction not to hurt anyone, and ordered his men to kill her. After a gunshot, Fat came in and examined the body. He said he was satisfied, then he asked Denver to clean up the scene, but what he didn't realize was that the woman wasn't dead at all. At that time, the kind-hearted Denver hesitated. Ray offered to let him shoot her in the leg and fake her death. After Fat had examined the scene, Denver moved Ray to the safe room. They managed to fool Fat and save Ray's life. Fat wanted to kill her because he always believed that fear is the most effective way to control people's mind. Apparently, it did work. No one in the money printing factory dared to resist anymore, and followed the instructions to dig a tunnel. The robbers told the hostages that this tunnel would be their escape route. It was the second most important part of their job besides printing money. But in reality, the tunnel was a fake. The highly intelligent professor arranged another escape route. He had Denver's dad, White, dig another tunnel in the vault. It's in a completely different direction from the tunnel dug by the hostages. The hostages would have pointed to the tunnel when the police entered, but in reality, they were going in the opposite direction. This will confuse the police successfully. Old White finished his work for the day, but he found out from the hostages that his son had killed someone. He immediately came to Denver and asked him how he could do such a terrible thing. How can he face his mother's death? Denver couldn't tell the truth with Fat at his side. He could only comfort his father with his pale words. Unexpectedly, the old White became more and more intense. He even started to break down. To everyone's surprise, the old man could not take the shock. He opened the door of the banknote printing plant, and tried to turn himself into the police. Denver rushed to wrestle him to the ground, and told him that Ray was still alive. Old White then suddenly realized, but their faces were already covered with infrared sights. They were about to be arrested by the approaching police. Suddenly, a group of masked men came out of the gate, and formed a human zigzag to protect the father and son. As there were hostages among them, the police were at a loss and stopped moving forward. It turns out that this is a temporary measure arranged by Mr. Fat. The professor said it was a good idea, but there was a risk of the hostages escaping. As expected, the freedom is only 100 meters away. Under the mask, Park became restless. He suddenly turned his head and grabbed Denver's gun, and pointed it back at the robbers. The policeman in the distance thought that the robber had suddenly changed his mind, and wanted to kill the hostages. As the situation became more and more urgent, Sister Kim had to give the order to shoot. This hostage is critically wounded and dying. The bullet in his body was fired by the police. In order to make amends, the police negotiated with the robbers for a medical team to come in and treat the wounded, but the robbers agreed without a second thought. Negotiator Kim was surprised, but then she came up with a brilliant idea. She plans to place an undercover agent in the medical team. Captain Cha volunteered, and after 30 years on the force, he thought he could handle the job. They put Captain Cha in Conan glasses with a camera. That way, they'd have a clear view of the inside of the money printing plant. So the medical team entered without incident. But as the operation progressed, the experienced Fat saw that something was wrong, because all the medical staff were sweating and shaking because of the tense atmosphere. Only this guy was calm and collected. Fat put a gun to his head and told him to take charge of the operation. Captain Cha was in trouble. He didn't know what to do. In the heat of the moment, he took off his mask and revealed his identity as a police officer. But he also told the robbers that he was only trying to ensure the safety of the paramedics and had no other intention, because he did not carry a weapon. The robbers did not do anything to him. This is in fact a tactic of attacking the West, and planting undercover agents is just the surface. In fact, Sister Kim has also arranged an undercover team, wearing masks and costumes identical to those of the robbers. The team sneaked in through the air vents, avoid all the cameras and enter the money printing factory, then blend in with the hostages. When the time is right, they can capture all the robbers. The undercover agent was discovered on purpose to attract the robbers' attention. When the operation was about to be completed, the boss of the robbers, Professor felt that something was wrong. He watched the Captain Cha carefully, and noticed that he kept adjusting the position of his glasses from time to time. Is there a camera inside? The camera can transmit the robber's movements, then the police can only do this as a feint. They must have arranged another team to invade this place, so the professor went to plan B. When the medical team was about to leave, Captain Cha was stunned. These guys have prepared a second set of masks. If the infiltration team showed up at this time, they'd be recognized within a second. He went out of the money printing factory, and shouted like crazy to stop the plan, stop the plan. What the police couldn't imagine is that the professor did the same thing to him. They planted a hacker bug in Captain Cha's cell phone,